Good times. Coming to you on this beautiful Thursday evening. Just such a great day. So hopefully you had an awesome day today. Oh, that's what it is. Hold on here real quick. Charging the computer here, and it dropped out of the outlet, so it was a great time. But it was interesting today. So I was walking around in the mall and ended up catching a conversation from a gentleman, a customer, talking to one of the store owners and whatnot. And the gentleman was trying to get his washer replaced and pulled it out. And the individual that owned the shop had explained, hey, this is what we do. This is the cost for the repair on the watch. And the guy's like, you must be smoking crack. And I overheard him. He's like, I could do this myself and get it cheaper and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so if you have this thought originally that I can do it better and I can do it for cheaper, then why did you come to the store? It makes no sense. And it's so funny because you see that all the time. People are so drawn on the cost and all that. It's like, by doing whatever it is, what is that going to do for you as an individual? What type of impact is that going to have on you if you allow the individual to fulfill their role as that occupation, that profession, whatever it is? But I just had to laugh. I was like, dude, like I was like, I don't know. But yeah, it's funny when you see that interaction and whatnot. But I have to give a shout out, of course, to Jasper Axelrad with Twala's Food for Thought and what she does for us within 2 to 8 of Sons, what she's been able to do to help us reach and impact other individuals. So I didn't have to, but I was able to sub for Jasper today for BNI chapter. And there's an individual that we had done a video with. He was highlighting his give back project. So Isaac with Upright Construction. And he brought up the fact that while I was sharing the information that Jasper had provided, that he said, with our action and with everything else he was able to do, he was able to raise $6,000 for that project. I was like, man, that's amazing, just because I didn't know. But it's a beautiful thing when you hear that piece and the impact that you can have on other individuals. But there is a great family-run business down in the mall, Chapel Hills Mall. It's Design Your Life, and that's ran by Gary and Dorinda Vanderpool. And so I was talking to Gary today, just having a conversation and just catching up and seeing how they're doing with the store and whatnot. And so he was sharing just his backstory, how they came about to open the shop, and really just doing a deep dive. And I'm listening, and I brought it up to him. And so he will actually be a guest on the Dreamer Cypher next Wednesday. And so we'll actually be live streaming from the shop, Design Your Life, which is down in the Chapel Hills Mall. But it was interesting just to hear his story and just to listen to things that he's overcome, his journey and whatnot. And when he was telling me this stuff, I was like, this is the type of stuff that people need to hear. And so when it comes to what I and Patrick do with 2 Native Sons is go out there and showcase and get the story out for the business owners and show the humanity piece of these individuals running these businesses. A lot of times business owners don't go about and do that and get out and utilize social media to their advantage. And so that's one of the things that we were having a discussion with Mary Biga with some different things. And so one of the pieces that Patrick had brought up is we have a lot of individuals that have this idea of, I've got to separate business and my personal life. And the issue you get into is with the real estate market, with real estate agents. A lot of times real estate agents are going out there and posting, oh, this is what's going on with the market. These are the trends. And that's great. Patrick brought up, he's like, man, that's great. But you got to understand that a client or a potential client can go find that anywhere. And so you as an individual, what separates you from everybody else? Who are you? And so it's interesting because with that conversation, individual that I follow, and he is the individual that created Poddex. This is Travis Brown. And he was discussing the fact that when he's posting different things on social media, the posts of him and his dog, him and his family get a lot more engagement than the business side. And he's like, it's so interesting just to really see how such a difference in the take is with individuals that are following different people and whatnot. And so I'm sitting there and thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, it is one of those unique things that truly, when we take the time, people want to get to know somebody. They want to know that story. They want to know the good things, the bad things, just different things of an individual's life and whatnot. But it comes down to the fact of we've got these old mindset ideas that aren't serving any of us, that aren't serving you as an individual, and you're really missing out on a lot of great opportunities. And so I'm just real big on helping people see the importance of using social media, the importance of getting out there and sharing different things. And it can be tough when I look at it. It can be the fact of the vulnerability piece, the transparency piece. If you're opening up and showing those potential dark things that maybe you think aren't worthy of people knowing, or you're like, this isn't going to resonate with people. And the biggest thing is those things really do stick with people. And so it's the humanity piece. And it's funny because different things that I listen to, different things that I hear. I was watching a video with Gary Vaynerchuk, and he was talking to a fan of his, and they were out. I don't remember. He was signing autographs and just talking to people. And the fan was discussing the fact that they wanted to go and do vlogging. And the fan was like, but my life is so boring. Nobody's going to watch it. And Gary brought up the fact, he's like, the issue we run into as individuals is we look at our own lives and we just assume that it's boring for whatever reason. And so I think when I look at it, and so before I get into that thought, but Gary's like, we all think our life is boring, but individuals outside of our lives, because it's a different viewpoint, a different perspective, really can drive that interest level, can really create something different because it's not their life. And so it's one of those, it's the idea of change. And looking and being like, yeah, this is different and whatnot. And so it's unique how we all think our lives are boring and whatnot. But people want to know. People want to hear. People want to build those relationships. People want that connection point. And so as humans, we are social creatures. And we're meant to have those connections. But it's tough for people because they're hiding behind a mask and they're not showing up as their true solid self. And when I think about this, I was talking to Jasper tonight. We were having a discussion, talking about some different things with businesses and just looking at different pieces of just life and whatnot. And so I did title this that your story is part of your catalyst. I don't know exactly what I titled it, but it's something of that nature. Title's not showing up here. But it's one of those things that your story can become a catalyst. Is that going to be a good catalyst or is that going to be a bad catalyst? You don't know. You determine that. And so it's the fact of if you're constantly focusing on the negativity, if you're focusing on things that are going wrong, that's going to cause a catalyst for it to grow and expand and just more of the shit showing up and doing the same stupid stuff sometimes that are popping up. And you're like, oh my goodness, like what's going on here? Well, it's your story. What are you telling yourself? What story is part of that catalyst that is expanding and exploding and enhancing whatever it is? But it's one of the things that from one of the many books that I have, and this is by Eric Thomas, The Secret to Success. He was there's a chapter in here that's titled "Change Starts with You." Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Leo Tolstoy. And so it is one of those things that I read, that people want to change the world, but run into the issue that they don't want to work to change on themselves. And so that was something that when Jasper and I were having a conversation, I was looking, because I look back on my previous marriage and things that I dealt with, things that I went through. And it was one of those things that people want to change things in other people, but when it comes to them, they don't look and they don't do the change. So it is one of those things that I just look at it and it's crazy that people want to try to change other people, but they don't put the effort in to change themselves, to work on themselves. So it's one of those things that it's like, I'm not going to work on myself. I'm not going to change, but I'm going to try to change you. I'm going to try to work out the wrinkles. I'm going to try to iron out the flaws from you and have you be the person that I want to be, or I want in my life. And it's like, no, like this is the issue when I look at it. Within a relationship, your relationship should be a safe space. Life already is tough enough. Life is already chaotic enough. Life is crazy and whatnot. So if you're in a relationship, that spot should be a safe space for you to show up and be able to be yourself, to be true to yourself. But the issue when we look at it, when I look at it, is if you are having these relationships and you're having this person that wants to change the other person for whatever reason, it's tough because now that other person that is looking at needing to be changed, they can't show up as their true self because that individual isn't accepting them for everything that they're bringing to the table. So the flaws, the quirkiness, everything. But it's one of those things that people start a relationship and they're like, oh, that's so cute. And then like 5 months down the road, they're like, I want to change this about you. Like, this is not something that I like. And it's like, the issue you're causing and creating is this person can't show up and be true to themselves. They can't show up as their true solid self because they're like, shit, they want to change this about me. They want to change this about me. So what am I supposed to do? I can't show up as my true self because it wants to be changed. So let me show up as my pseudo self, as my fake self. And then that just bleeds into everything else. When you can't be true to yourself in one part of your life, that bleeds into everything else in your life. And so this is one of the reasons that I live by the creed of love me or hate me, there's no in between. Because I'm going to show up as myself. And if you like it, cool. If you don't like it, cool. That's your choice. That's your lens. But I'm not going to try to put myself in a box to fit somebody else because they don't like XYZ, whatever it is. And so it's unique because there was an individual that had reached out to me on LinkedIn, had a great conversation with this gentleman, and was able to hear his story and just the journey that he's on right now through his transformation piece. He's having a transition period, and so it's unique just to be able to hear the stories of others and just have people reaching out, and you just never know and whatnot. But he actually was doing some research and he asked me, he's like, so I'm just curious, what's this Zafuji lifestyle? And it's funny because that's 2 days in a row that this idea has come up with Zafuji. And if you don't know what it is, it stands for zero fucks given. And that can be one of those very rough things that when somebody hears it, they're like, so do you just not care? And really, ultimately, what it comes down to when we are building two native sons, myself and Patrick, and doing the things that fulfill us, doing the things that we're passionate about and that meet who we are as an individual, it's the point of we're not putting ourselves in a box. We are not going to be in this typical light of what people see when it comes to building a business. When it comes to meeting with individuals, it's the professional piece of just the respect towards each other. But ultimately, we're not playing by these old rules that everybody's playing by. So you got a lot of people that it's like, you need to be in a suit and tie and show up that way. And I'm like, that's great, but somebody can dress up and be very presentable, but that person behind the suit and the tie and the nice clothes may be a big ass jerk. And so I don't know. And so for me, I'm going to show up how I am. And so it goes to the fact that if you're fearful to repel the few, you're going to miss out on attracting the many. And so if you're scared to show up and be true to yourself because you don't know what somebody's going to think or somebody's going to say, you're going to miss out on a lot because now you're worried about the other person instead of just showing up and being true to yourself and playing big. And so it's one of those things that it can be a tough thing to adjust your thought process, to adjust how you view it, that paradigm, because the fact that if you don't question the beliefs, you don't question your thoughts, you don't question that paradigm that's been stuck in your head, and you're following this autopilot of what you're used to doing and you don't question it, you're going to miss out. But it is not an easy thing to do. It's not fun sometimes as a question, because now that's a scary fact, because if you start questioning what's on the backside, what's on the side of what you don't know, because you've been so comfortable staying in your comfort zone and you don't want to push the boundaries because, I don't know, maybe you're scared of being judged, or you're scared to lose that friendship, or you're scared to lose that relationship, whatever it is, or maybe you're scared to miss out on losing a client. It's one person, but you got to understand that are you being true to yourself? Are you showing up as your true self, or are you showing up as a pseudo self just to appease somebody, to appease whoever? And are you taking on clients because you're stressing and you have the scarcity mindset, or are you taking on clients because you truly want to take them on? Are you at the point where you can turn away a client because they don't fit you as an individual, or maybe you don't fit them and it's not a good fit? And so if you can be true to yourself, it's a beautiful thing. And so it's like I said, it's one of those mindset pieces. It's a shift that has to take place, but it's work, and you've got to do the work. And sometimes that work is not fun. Sometimes the work is not what you want to do. The work is like, oh man, this is not what I want to do, because it's, I don't know. But it's just interesting and whatnot. And then I was looking at, let me see here. I've got it here. Oh yeah. So this is also another Eric Thomas book. And so this is Greatness is Upon You. So another great read. I highly suggest checking out the book. Like I always say, any book that I read, I highly suggest checking out. But you got to implement at least a couple of things. And so when you start reading books, like people go and read books and they're like, I'm going to take 10,000 nuggets from one book. Well, are you going to be able to implement those 10,000 nuggets? It's not going to be easy. So when you're going and read and whatnot, read it one time. Find 2 or 3 nuggets that you can extract from the book that are very potent and very important to you at this time, and implement those. And then go back and read the book again, because the thing is, as you're growing and as you're expanding your mind, you're doing the personal development, your mind expands. And so when you go reread a book that you've read once, when you reread it again, there's going to be things that will stick out, and you'll be like, man, I didn't see that before. Where was that before? Your mind wasn't ready for it. It wasn't expanded to accept it, and you haven't done the work to be able to look at something differently and whatnot. So a book, once you get done with it, put it down, go find another book, do what you need to, but go back to the books that you read before. And like I said, there's nuggets in there that at the time when you first read it, your mind wasn't ready for it. And then when you go back, you do the deep dive, you start finding different things that stick out. And then through the growth process and your experience process, the nuggets that you originally grabbed, maybe they're shaped a little bit differently when you reread the book and you look at it and find something from a different perspective that you didn't see before. But in regards here, he was talking about your thoughts and your behaviors. And this is one thing that I picked up from a gentleman, BP. He runs Unfuck Your Mindset, the podcast, I believe is what it's called. But he was talking about that your thoughts lead to feelings, your feelings lead to actions, your actions lead to results. And so think about this. If you're stacking negative thoughts, how's that going to play into your feelings? How are you going to feel about yourself? What are you going to see when you look around you? So if you have these negative thoughts, it's going to impact how you see stuff. It's going to impact how you view the world. And if you've got negative thoughts, you're going to see all the garbage around you. But if you're stacking positive thoughts, it's going to play differently on how you see things, which are going to play into your feelings and how you feel about yourself. And if you're feeling good, you're going to take more action. And when you take more action, you're going to end up getting bigger and better results. And so it may take some time because you may have to deal with a mental muscle that is very weak and flabby because you haven't been working on it. You haven't been feeding it right. And so it may take time for it to flip, which is okay. Don't get discouraged, because if you're at that point where you're working on yourself and you're aware and it's just not sticking, or you're like, this is not working out, don't get down on yourself. Don't get down on yourself. Keep pushing and keep moving forward, because it's going to take time. But the interesting thing on this is last night on the Dreamer Cypher, which the funny thing I have to look at and talk about is the video was uploaded last night on Facebook, because when we streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And then this morning, I had Gary reaching out. He's like, where's the video at? I was like, oh, no. So I went and looked, and like it was gone. It was like there was the blank screen that said the video is gone or something of this nature. I was like, man, did Facebook eat our video? So I was like, oh, no, here we go. So the beautiful thing, and I would highly suggest, if you're streaming, doing lives, or if you're thinking about it, find a platform. So I've used StreamYard before. I've flipped over to Restream.io. Restream's a little bit on the lower end of the cost compared to StreamYard. But I highly suggest finding a platform that you can stream to multiple sites, because right now it's streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitch channel. And so for the YouTube, that is our Two Native Sons channel. And all we ask is that you guys go like, subscribe to the channel, share the channel. If you're finding nuggets that you can walk away from these talks to help grow that channel. And so we're looking, the goal that I have, and I've talked to Patrick, the goal that I have with this is to grow that channel to 100,000 subscribers. Just because YouTube does give a milestone plaque for hitting 100,000 subscribers. So it's just something that is a goal. It's just, hey, this is what you did. Look, you have 100,000 subscribers, 100,000 people that you're impacting. But yeah, go share the channel and whatnot. And then we've got a Twitcher on here, Max MCD3. Hey man, what's up, brother? Hopefully everything's going well for you. I'm not for sure if you're a follower of Patrick off of Twitch, but if you are, welcome to the community. If not, we'll welcome you with open arms. Come and join in. Hopefully you take away some value with what we share. But yeah, for those that are on Twitch, if you're not following the page, like the page. That's another thing that we're looking to grow and utilize as another platform to reach other individuals, to cross that bridge between the digital era and the in real life stuff that we have going on. So just bridging that gap between different communities, different individuals. And so it's a beautiful thing when you have that. But when it comes back to this aspect of that think, feel, action, results, it's your thoughts. Your thoughts are powerful. And so I was talking a little bit about what Titus had shared with the aspect of, we have this idea that mastering a skill takes a long time. Max MDC, what do we got here? Now I'm just going on some Twitch streams saying what's up. Hey, well, I appreciate it. Glad you found the channel. Hopefully what I'm sharing here is sticking. If not, just appreciate you jumping on, supporting it, checking out. So appreciate that, man. But it's funny in regards with what Titus had talked about. And when you really think about this, it is true. Because he had talked about, you can condense your learning of a skill. You can condense that mastery. But the issue we're running into is you have these pieces that people have told you to master a skill, it takes 10,000 hours. Or to have proficiency in a skill, it takes a long time. And so think about when you hear that and somebody's constantly telling you that, oh, okay, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. It takes a long time to master a skill. When you hear that, what does that do to you as an individual? I know for myself, when I heard that, it's like, man, it's going to take some time. So when you are looking at trying to master a skill, you've got that in the back of your mind that it's like, well, to master this skill, it's going to take 10,000 hours. But like Titus was saying, and with the things that I've studied and different things that I've gotten into, you can speed up the mastery process. It's your thoughts and then putting in that action and whatnot. But your thoughts are very powerful. It dictates. And so that's where you've got to be mindful about your thoughts, what you're stacking, what you're thinking. And then it comes into play too about, who are you surrounding yourself with? Who's feeding into you? Who are you allowing to come into your mind and not hold a high rent? Because if you're allowing people to come into your mind without paying rent, it's not a good thing. You're going to have this negative effect that usually those individuals are ones that are feeding the negativity. And so if you're allowing that to feed into you, that's what's going to grow. And then it's like feeding your body. You feed your body junk, you're going to end up feeling like junk. You're going to feel like garbage and your body's not going to look good. So it's the same thing with your mind. Your mind is a muscle. It's a item. It's your asset that you've got to protect. And so that's just something to think about. And then the other thing, and then in here, understand how your thoughts shape your reality. And so that goes into regards of the piece that if you think mastering a skill is going to take 10,000 hours, well, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to create your reality. So it's, man, I just look at how things start crossing over and how things start feeding in and fitting in and whatnot. And it's just a beautiful thing when you start looking at it differently. And then the last thing that I laugh at in this certain chapter here, let me see here, Words of Greatness. But he had titled this, I don't got to, I get to. And think about that. How many of you will wake up and be like, man, I got to go to this job. Man, I got to go meet with somebody that I really don't want to meet with. Well, if you don't really want to meet with them, why are you meeting with them in the first place? But maybe you woke up in the morning and it was just not the best. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep. I don't know what it is. But instead of saying, I got to do this, say, I get to do it. I get to go build this business. I get to go stream. I get to go produce this podcast. I get to go meet this new individual. I get to go make a new friend. I get to be able to speak life into other people. I get to be able to go and create value. Now I got to go do this live, because there's going to be times where people will do lives. I've seen individuals that will start a podcast, and it's just very interesting how people kind of fizzle out. I don't know what's going on. Sharon, what is up? We got Sharon coming in here. We got the hey, what's up? I don't know. You're not allowing Patrick to watch this one. So, but oh man, but yeah, it's one of those things that I get to do this. I don't have to. I don't got to go do this. I get to go do this. And so it's just a different perspective. It's a different way to look at things. So when you're thinking of different things, what do you get to do? what do you want to do? And then how do you line that up? So man, I just look, and it's interesting how things will fall in, things will start lining up. Then you have this thread of commonality that starts building, and you start interacting with different individuals and hearing their stories and listening to what they've gone through in that journey, and just what's turning out and what it's coming out. And oh, okay, yeah. So Patrick fell asleep at 8:30 p.m. Crazy. Usually he's up till 2 a.m. I have a feeling that with Patrick falling asleep at 8:30, so about 2 hours ago, he'll probably be up at 2, just because we know how Patrick is. Very driven, very gung ho and whatnot, but he needs to sleep too. So I need a good business partner that doesn't end up crashing and whatnot. So, but no, I have to thank Sharon for your passion, your spirit, for what you do for Patrick, and just ultimately allowing us to do the crazy things that we're doing, supporting our dreams, but ultimately supporting Patrick. And I know he's grateful for what you're doing, and it's just unique to really be on the outside watching what happens with those type of relationships, and being able to see what's taking place, but also just having a little part into everything too. So grateful for that. And let's see, you're probably right. This one takes a little bit. Then his sleep schedule will be all messed up again. Yeah. Gotta love it, man. If you don't have a good sleep schedule, you're all over the place. And then let's see here, laugh out loud. You guys are awesome partners. I look at it just how quick and how long we've known each other, which hasn't been a very long time. And Patrick did share that story yesterday on the Dreamer Cypher, and it's funny in regards just to hear stories that you're like, man, okay, cool. Thanks for that information, but I have to laugh because you just never know, and you just never know what's going to come out of relationships, what potentially grows out of it. Because yesterday when we had met with Mary said when she first met me, she's like, I was so mad at Scott. I was like, what did I do? And so she had expressed with her kids, because one of the things that I do, and it's another podcast that I have, is the High School and Beyond podcast, but working with students and families with holistic career and college planning. So it's just another entity of the umbrella of coaching and taking care of people. But Mary's like, I was so mad at Scott. Like, if he would have been around when my kids were going to school, it would have been a lot easier. I was like, well, I had no control over that, but it's just funny in regards. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know. And then when I heard it, I was like, okay, I got you. But yeah, no, I love it and whatnot. So it's good times. But yeah, no, it's just it's interesting, really, when it boils down, when you start looking at the connection piece, things going and coming together, or sticking together, that you're like, I don't want this to stick. I don't want this around. Sharon's over here laughing at me right now, so I appreciate it with the smile or the laughing emoji faces. But yeah, like right now, you're a catalyst, and part of your being a catalyst is the story that you're telling yourself. And so it comes into regards of what are you thinking, how are you stacking, who you're around, what are you reading, what are you listening to, what are you watching, and everything. And are you going and finding other people to learn from? Are you open to understanding that you can only go so far by yourself? And so are you going to get out of your way and go find individuals and admit, I don't know everything. What can I learn from this individual? What is this person strong in that I can learn from? And maybe we can partner together because that person's strong in an area that I suck at, a weakness that I have. So instead of me trying to focus on this weakness, let's partner together and I can focus on my strengths and make this huge. But yeah, so it's interesting. But like I always say, if you have anything, you have any questions, you have this dream, this passion, and you just don't know what to do. You don't have anybody around you that is there to uplift you, to see that potential in you and pull it out of you before you do it. It was the interesting thing today, too. When I was talking to somebody, I was like, maybe you don't believe in yourself. When you find somebody that believes in yourself, borrow their faith until your belief in yourself is strong enough. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's also admitting that you don't know everything, that you're not the best in everything. And sometimes you need help. Sometimes you got to ask for help, which is okay. That's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength. So you can continue and go on and do what you're needing to do and whatnot. But if you have anything, hit myself up, hit Patrick up, hit the Two Native Sons Facebook page, send us a message there. You can find us on Instagram, both of our Instagram pages. But in regards with the Twitch channel, if you are on Twitch, go find the Twitch channel. It's under Two Native Sons. It's twitch.tv/Two Native Sons, all one word. Go like the channel, subscribe. And then for our YouTube channel, go like and subscribe and share that. Share the shit out of it. I don't care. And but yeah, if you have anything, don't hesitate. Reach out. Patrick and I are very driven to sit down and talk and really kind of see what steps to take, or where you may be at that point that you're not giving yourself grace and you need to give yourself grace, or you've got greatness and you don't even see it. So let's help you pull that out of you and really get that going and whatnot. So again, thank you guys for your support. Thank you, Sharon, for laughing at me and everything that you're doing for Patrick and whatnot. But I'll catch you guys later. Love you guys. Have a great night. Peace.